are live. Welcome everyone to the next Morningfame live stream. Today we will be talking about how to rank your videos on Google, and it's really exciting and will be really fun because I have Daniel Batal today on the stream. Welcome.
How you doing, Nico?
You know what? I have to give you the reason why Daniel is on the stream today, because many months back, I talked with Brian G. Johnson already about Google ranking on Google, right? It is an intriguing topic, and I was thinking about, could I implement something into Morningfame that supports that? And I looked into the technical details and figured out it was technically not possible. So I put that idea aside for many months. And then suddenly Daniel came by and said, like, did you know about this new video carousel we have on Google? And he got me so excited about this topic again that I thought, like, I have to look again. It couldn't be impossible to do that technically, to support that with Morningfame as well. So I looked into it, and it turned out I found a technical solution after all. And that got everything started. We created a study group, and we looked into every notch and cranny of all about Google SEO. So yeah, it is really exciting today to talk about the details, how you can rank your videos on Google. Welcome everyone. Hi, Brian. I'm really finally happy that what we talked in the beginning as well is now technically possible. You never know, right? Technology has its limit. So I'm glad that it is possible now. But anyway, we won't only talk about this technical Morningfame part of it, but also looking into the Google results and understanding it. And you will see shortly.
Nico will be sharing a streusel recipe later on in the stream.
German Streuselkuchen. Right in time for Christmas. Awesome. And you, for everyone who didn't see, Daniel is sitting in his pantry, so he has all the ingredients.
Yes, I have to shout out to Steve Gamlin, who looked. This is my Extreme Food Review set, not my main channel set, and I'm using it. And Steve asked me if that said Farm Fresh Panties behind me. It doesn't.
Now it's in the closed captions. It's demonetized.
Just so we don't get demonetized. But thank you, Steve.
Yeah, awesome. What a great introduction on the Tuberture group, right?
Yeah, apparently I have no shame when it comes to self-promotion.
Yeah. Who agrees? A high five in the chat, please.
Brian G. Johnson in the house. Brian, thank you very much for letting us push this in group. I know sometimes I push the boundaries of what I should be asking for, and that's all right, because if I do it now, then when I ask for something really crazy later on, you won't be as surprised.
Yeah, that like stepping up step by step, right?
Gotta work on
it. In German, we have the saying like give someone your pinky and he takes the whole elephant.
Something might have been lost in translation right there on that one, though. But
yeah, that's a weird saying, actually. It's
I'm gonna start using that one and see how people react. But I think I know where this is gonna go already.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
All right, listen, Nico, tell us about what's going on with Morningfame right now. You know that I've been on your case. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a guy who has been on Nico's case from day one, saying Google search, Google. Let's talk about Google, because I was starting to see some traffic come from positioning in Google. And I always pushed Nico from the minute the keyword research tool got launched to say, well, how can we incorporate this? Is there something we can do so we can get there quicker? Because it always had the Google Trends button down below where I would tell Nico, like, yeah, this is great. I can use the keyword research tool to find titles and tags and keywords that I can potentially rank for. But I was always checking them on Google. And Nico would always say to me, like, it's interesting that you always go to Google, like, to confirm things through the Google Trends. But to me, it was the obvious step for the keyword because the two interplay so well. The way that Google search and YouTube search work together are sort of I call it a symbiotic relationship. What are your what's your take on it, Nico?
Oh yeah.
By the way, his name is Nico, not Nico.
Yeah, true. But feel free to say Nico as well. When I order a burger, I always say Nick because people get confused about my name here in the US. Anyway,
right. I tell people I'm Nick too, but I actually say Nick Nimmin.
Yeah, perfect. That's stolen fame. Yeah. The point is, and that really surprised me. I mean, Daniel pushed me more and more and more about the details and all that stuff. And what I didn't realize until, let's say, what was it, maybe 2 months ago, is that even though I was not thinking about really before about ranking on Google, it was actually the case that my videos already ranked on Google, even without me considering Google at all. And the interesting thing here is that we talked since the introduction of the new feature. We all talked in the Morningfame early access group, for example, about all your experiences about ranking on Google. And turned out actually that many of you already rank your videos on Google. And let me show it to you. Let's see if I can quickly share my screen. Whole desktop, start screen share, present to everyone. And here we go. Do you see my screen? I hope so.
I see your screen.
Okay. I hope the others as well. All right. And here, some examples about the video that I did last week. By the way, if you missed last week's video, based on discussions we had, I crammed in all the major points about ranking on Google, but we will repeat them today as well. So here you have these examples of people realizing that they already rank their videos on Google. And this is really interesting to see because basically it tells us that if you apply YouTube SEO, the best practices we learned from YouTube, then the chances are high that your videos also rank on Google as well. This is really interesting to see. And actually, if you look at, sorry, that was actually, the reason why those videos are ranking is, and that is what Daniel really showed me, is this newly introduced video carousel. Yeah, that's really a new thing that Google introduced in July this year, so not very long ago, where videos get a prime real estate on Google. Yeah, these videos that you see here in the carousel are not competing with the other results in the search results on Google. It's based on the universal search. Google calls it universal search, where they weave in different types of content into the search results. So websites results is one. The video carousel is something new, which is predominantly actually YouTube, because YouTube is so huge. You could see some Vimeo videos on there, but usually it's just YouTube. And so Google decides which type of content is the right thing to show to the searcher on Google. And that very well could be a video carousel, and that gives us prime real estate. And the ranking that they do in this video carousel is different, but in a sense also similar. And that is like on YouTube. And that is the reason why our videos with regular YouTube SEO are ranking on Google with a high chance as well. And if you look, for example, my most successful video on this channel, actually, here you can see that's about the click-through rate on YouTube. This one has nearly 50% of the external traffic. Can I show my mouse here? No. It is. Do I talk into the void? Daniel, say something.
I'm here.
Okay, perfect. It's became becoming so quiet?
Well, you know what? It usually takes a lot of money to make me shut up. But when you say something interesting, I listen.
Perfect, perfect. So here you see 50% is external traffic, and at the bottom you see 80% of those 50% is Google search traffic. So if so, a big portion of this video is driven by Google search. Also, of course, YouTube search, but at the same time, Google search, as you see here, this is a chart from the video that is when I uploaded it, and it's slowly, the blue line you see here, the biggest line, the biggest portion of it is from Google search. And it's kind of behaving similarly as evergreen content on YouTube. Yeah, it steadily climbs up. And as you can see here, it creates no, the charts is showing watch time minutes, not views, but it's really each day, each point is one day creating considerable amount of views. In total, as you see in the chart below, 3,500 views are no, 2,700 views are from Google search alone since I uploaded it in April. So.
Nico,
Yeah,
do me a favor.
simple
Take a step back to your last screen and show people the video carousel again. Because I think the universal search is something that we're used to talking about, but people may not be as used to. Now, this is really interesting. If you're looking at Google, people who have been on the internet as long as I have, which was I started in 1926, before there was internet. But the original Google came out, and it didn't have, if you look at the top right above where he's circled, you can see it says all, and it says videos and images and shopping. And you have to understand that Google originally didn't even have those tabs. It used to be Google search was Google. You would plug in your search term and it would give you results. And years later, they decided that they would start creating tabs to separate the different pieces and elements of relevant content so that maybe someone who was searching for something may want to see a video or an image or want to learn a news story about it. And they started separating those into different tabs. And Nico talked about this a second ago, but he's talking about the universal search. And what we have to understand as YouTube creators is that was Google saying, listen, we think that all of these searches, all these different tabs, the videos, the images, the news, maps, that may all need to have a space on the very first page of Google because it might be the most relevant thing to what the person is searching for. That's what Google is trying to do. When someone types something into Google, in this instance, it's how to title your YouTube videos. Google is trying to figure out the most relevant answer so that the person who typed in that search gets their answer quickly and they get what they need. They don't go, oh, I got a chicken recipe. That's not what I wanted. So this new carousel feature, like Nico said, only came out over this summer, or at least it was finalized. It was finalized in desktop, where videos actually have a chance to show up as relevant search results to an organic search. So where Nico is circled here, this is your in. This is the thing you want to pay attention to.
Exactly. And this is really, it is really a game changer in a sense that we can now see how the separate types of content are evaluated separately. Yeah, the Google SEO is actually, I would say, an even more complicated topic than YouTube SEO. YouTube is kind of a smaller world, we can say. Yeah, it's only videos. It's not so complex. But Google is much more complex with all the videos, images, shopping, news, and all that stuff. And having this here to see, like, the different types of content interweaved, but also kind of separated from each other, helps us to think like also in a separate way. We don't have to learn all the Google SEO to understand how we can rank our videos. And the most important thing here is when we do our YouTube SEO in order to rank our videos, Then we have to, of course, consider search terms, optimize our videos for search terms that are searched on Google as well. People search different things on Google than on YouTube, but some search terms do make sense for both platforms. This is one example. And then it is also a question of what type of content on Google makes the most sense. Yeah. And obviously, if we are searching for a search term that is about YouTube, in a sense, I mean, how to title your YouTube videos, that screams YouTube, obviously. So naturally, Google understands it shall show a video carousel here. It makes sense to show videos and not just blog articles, for example. Here it's an obvious case, but for all the other search terms, and that's how the universal search works, it tests out what kind of content is well suited for the searcher on Google. Yeah, if you search for a car, for example, it's not very clear what kind of content makes the most sense. And for example, if you want to for example, if you want to repair an engine of a car, yeah, you can for example, search something like how to repair replace the traffic light, the bulbs in the car, brake light bulbs.
Wait a minute, I want to just jump in and say, Nico, clearly you do a lot of home auto repair, just by your mastery of the terminology when it comes to automobile repair. I feel like I'm in the garage with the mechanic.
Indeed. I actually did once replace a bulb of a brake.
It wasn't a car bulb; it was a light bulb and a lamp next to his computer. But please continue.
So if you want to know how to replace this bulb, a video makes the most sense. But if you want to, for example, find a mechanic who does it for you, then search results, like shopping results maybe, or kind of like maps results to find car repair shops in your vicinity, makes more sense, right? So what Google does here is...
Let me see. Hey, Nico, let me see your face. I can't stare at the screen anymore. I'm missing you. I need you, my friend. I need to see your face.
All right, here I am. Good point. So depending on what you search, Google tests out which kind of content makes the most sense, and then it decides whether to show a video carousel or not. So in case of how to repair it yourself, this light bulb, then it will most likely show a video carousel. And if it's about finding a car repair shop, then it doesn't show video results. It doesn't make sense here, right? Google does some kind of testing to figure out which kind of content it should weave into the all section of the Google search results.
So you're saying that Google basically looks at all of the tabs, and when it's trying to give a relevant answer to the search term, the organic search term, it looks at all of the information it has across all of the different tabs and tries to figure out the best answer that it can give the person who may be putting the search in, given whatever the search term is that they've typed into the search bar.
Exactly. Yeah, that is crucially in its purpose is to satisfy the intent of the searcher. Yeah. So the goal is basically understanding what the person who's searching on Google is looking for and delivering the best possible answer. And how to title a YouTube video? A video makes the most sense, obviously. Yeah. Because I would say, I mean, a blog article would make the most sense as well. But people who are searching for that tend to focus on YouTube videos by themselves. So Google figured that out. Yeah. And so it figures out what the intent is of the user, and based on that shows the best possible results. And obviously, those search terms where you find more images, for example, because you want to know how a certain plant looks like, for example. Yeah. So
well, yeah, you know what? That's the kind of thing. I think we've all done this as creators when we're trying to create videos and you find some B-roll footage. We've all typed into the search bar whatever we're looking for, a flower.png, because we wanted to insert it into our video. And if we were typing that or a JPEG into our search bar, we'll immediately get hit with image heavy search results because Google is figuring out what it is we're asking for.
Exactly. So the point here, a long story short, YouTube SEO works really well for Google as well, with 2 additions, and that are just small additions. You have to look whether a search term is searched on Google as well. Yeah? And if that's the case, you also have to check whether there is a video carousel, because that then gives us prime real estate to rank for our videos. And as we just discussed with the universal search, you don't see always a video carousel, not for all search terms. So just a quick check whether there is a video carousel already there, and then you can optimize your video for that.
All right. So, Nico, in terms of the keyword research tool that we've all come to know and love, we love you. I want to make this clear. We love you.
Thank
but
you.
I may love the keyword research tool more than I love you.
Yeah, I bet.
But the keyword research tool has changed recently because we were all used to seeing grades, and we would see the green check mark you added not that long ago. It's amazing how quickly this tool has changed. There wasn't all the green check mark not that long ago, but now there is a green check mark that's a little different. And can you tell us what the difference is now as opposed to what it was a few weeks back?
Yeah. Let me show it live. Let's do that. Just a second.
I'm throwing Nico off. He's like, that's not where I wanted to go next, Daniel. I'm like, you're going where I'm telling you to go, mister.
That's the fun of a live stream, right? All right, here we go. So share screen. Here we go.
Love it. Look at those grades. You know, you should make a video about that.
I
think you have a shot at ranking, Nico.
I think so too. Yeah. Let's check. Let's check. Number 2. That. Perfect.
So there we have now the original green check mark that we were used to is now a double green check mark.
Exactly.
I love this.
This is just a tiny extension. Yeah. The point is here not so much about extending the tool. The feature is really tiny when it comes to that. The whole thinking about Google search is making the difference here. And as you can see, if you click here, this is the double check is now for YouTube and Google. So before we had the single green check, which evaluates whether a search term is searched on YouTube and verifies that. And now the double check is also for both platforms. And that's what you're looking for when you're doing some kind of evergreen content. Evergreen content is suited the most for that purpose, where you have a double green check for your main target search term and go ahead for that. And as you see here, this title is good as well. And
so Nico, let me ask you a question though. Yeah. Even with now, we all know, you know, I love evergreen content. That's where everything lives for me. But even sometimes if there's a trend that's has enough of foot traffic and it starts getting some momentum, even that, if it starts showing up in Google, we can even see newer trends that may register as a double green check mark if it has enough traffic on Google, correct?
It depends. It depends where the trend currently is. Yeah, if you really predict the trends, and that would be the real power actually. If you can predict a trend and upload your video before people even search for that. Then
wait, are you telling me that Morningfame can't do that?
No.
That'll be out in January, guys. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, that's really great. It's so funny that I'm always trying to find search topics that are right on the cusp, that are just starting to gain momentum, or just starting to show up on Google and YouTube as search terms, but people haven't quite filled that void for. I mean, to me, the thing that the keyword research tool does at its best is to help me find those search terms that I can rank for. And usually there's two factors involved. It's other videos that are either not optimized well enough or under optimized, meaning people have made a lot of videos with similar titles, or they get around, it's close to what I'm targeting, but they haven't exactly nailed the title, that the keywords in the order or the way I'm phrasing it. And that's where I might find some opportunity. But the other side of that equation is also underserved, where sometimes you'll find a search topic that you go, there really aren't, the people are searching for it, but a lot of people just haven't made videos about it. So there's these big voids where you can get in and go, oh, I've got a big opportunity, window of opportunity where I can make something here that could really take off.
That is actually really the secret sauce. It's pretty difficult to pinpoint those search terms. Yeah. And sometimes Morningfame would even tell you, don't do this because it is not clear from the data. That has to, you have to have this predictive power, the deep understanding only a human can have, right? But this is two strategies actually you're talking about right now, which both have one thing in common. There is a void, in a sense, where you can rank your videos and don't have the competition you usually have for regular search terms, evergreen search terms that already have the big channels trying to rank for. And the first one would be a trend where people don't realize yet that there would be a spiking demand from searchers right now in the future. So you are the first to publish your video, and with that enter a void where people come in and search for that and only find your video before even the large channels have the chance to upload their own videos. So the competition goes up then suddenly, of course. But if you are first and ride the wave of search traffic and your video really takes off, then you basically have like this jump start, yeah, that catapults you beyond the competition that moves in a day later, for example, and you can still continue to rank. I saw many small channels actually successfully doing that. And this is a really good strategy. But of course, you have to predict what kind of search terms will be spiking soon. Yeah, for gamers, for example, that would be something like a indie game release or something like that, where you can already know the date when the game will be released, and you get early access to it and publish the video before even the big gaming channels. Or for example, if you are a booktuber, then you know that there are some book awards coming up, or movie awards like the Oscars, for example. But usually
right. So
Oscars.
That's really important too. That's something that I don't want you to glaze over there. Is we call those tentpole events, and that's when something happens that isn't going on throughout the year. It's sort of, it happens and then it goes away, and you can find areas that you may be able to rank because of that event. They call it tentpole, like, you know, when the circus comes to town.
Yeah, great name.
The tents, right? And then they break them down and they're gone. Things like the Olympics that come around every few years, we call them a tentpole event, right? People do search for it throughout the years, but when they're on TV and they're hitting, that's when you see massive spikes in search for things that might relate to the Olympics. Now, listen, if you own a cooking channel or you own like a gaming channel, it's a little harder to use that particular information to rank. Unless you have a really good Olympic chicken recipe. I'm all about the chicken recipes today. But they're usually tentpole events in every category. You just sort of have to, every niche, you just have to know how to look for them. But the thing I really want you to talk about, Nico, right now is because you've mentioned it. So we've got YouTube search and we've got Google search, right? And I think people think, well, I'm a YouTuber. I want to show up on YouTube. I don't get Google. Why do I need to be on Google? But there is a correlation between the way those two work together that I think is worth talking about, that you have to make clear to people who go, I don't get it. How do I get on Google? And it's sometimes easier than you think it is. What are your thoughts on, and let me start it out. I'll tell you the experience I've had. I'm going to answer my own question here. What I found is that if you can get a video to start to rank on YouTube search, if you can move up the rankings, you've increased your potential to start having that video show up on Google search, if that is a search term that is shared between the two search engines and has a serious amount of volume search for each an opportunity. One thing you have to understand, and I always talk about this as a joke with my tinfoil hat, that, you know, Google owns YouTube. And maybe that's the reason that all these YouTube searches videos show up on Google search. But the reality is that YouTube is just a massive platform. It's the #2 search engine in the world, only behind Google. And Google bought YouTube years ago knowing the potential of the platform. So the ability to index the information from YouTube onto Google quickly is so amazingly important to us as creators. You can put a video up, and if it starts doing well on YouTube, Google can index and retrieve that information from YouTube and know what's starting to push forward extremely quickly. Is Brian still in the chat? I see him down there. Brian G. Johnson and I did a collaboration that I won't mention the name, because if I mention it, the song goes in my head and I start singing it again, and I don't want to hear that song in my head. But we did a collaboration, and we were tracking it the minute it went live. And just based on the velocity alone, that video made it into the Google Carousel within the first 2 hours of release. Wow. And I remember screenshotting it and going, Brian, that's in Google search under, YouTube algorithm. It was nowhere in the video rankings if you switched over to the video page, but it jumped up there because Google was able to grab that information and index it as, oh, there's something important happening here. We know this is moving right now for that search term. There's a lot of velocity, a lot of people clicking and watching. And I wish it had stayed there longer, I'll be honest. But it stayed there for a while. And it was really interesting to see that you could be in the Google Carousel without actually clicking over to the video tab and not being in the actual rankings. It was his video, but we hadn't ranked yet, but it was in that carousel above the fold in the top 3. And it was huge potential for gaining some traffic. And what I want to talk about is, when you think about Google search and YouTube search, I hope you guys understand that YouTube uses a lot of metrics when they talk about watch time. People think watch time is just how long someone's watched your video, or the average view duration, or the retention. It's everything. It's session time. It's session starts. I won't go down that rabbit hole. But when you have a video that's on Google search that's showing up in that carousel, if people click on that because they've been searching on Google and watch your video on YouTube, you're creating what YouTube considers a session start, meaning you've brought someone from outside of the platform into YouTube. And that gains value to your channel. You're someone who brings people to YouTube from outside of YouTube. So that can actually put you in a position where YouTube looks at you and says, oh, maybe we'll suggest them a little more or push them out a little more, because they see that your video actually has more value than just existing within YouTube search. It brings people in. And there's a symbiotic relationship, so then it can push it out more. Maybe it gets higher in the rankings. And when it starts ranking more, then it can show up even higher in Google search. So you get this weird symbiotic relationship where they swirl, where it's like the chicken and the egg. Which feeds which one? You don't really know. But if you can get the two working together, huge potential for gaining more traffic to your channel.
Absolutely. And we should definitely use all the opportunities we have, right? And the cool thing is about, if you compare these different traffic sources you can tap into, Google is basically free. I mean, we don't really have to do something special extra. It's like the icing on the cake, right? And if you create evergreen content, then it's well suited anyway for your channel. But it's also surprising that I did a study about how many channels actually do benefit from Google search. And I was surprised to see that more channels than I expected actually can benefit from Google traffic. It turns out that 70% of all the channels I looked at, were 2,000 channels, by the way, do get considerable Google search traffic. So 1 or more % of their total traffic comes from Google search. And I bet most of them don't even think about it. And so that means that if you're looking at ranking your videos on Google as well, by just basically checking whether the search term is searched on Google as well, plus there is a video carousel, then you are able to increase that percentage even more and drive additional views. And I have to say in this that point, the interesting thing here is that because Google ranks the videos in the carousel a little bit differently than than YouTube does on its own search, it's, I think, even a particularly good chance for small channels like ours to rank our videos. For example, you just talked about the one infamous song you did with Brian, right?
Oh, please don't mention the song.
This one, obviously, you can think like many of us don't have by far a large channel like Brian does, right? So it is kind of more easy for him to rank on both platforms. It's actually the size of the channel seems to not matter so much anymore, because Google looks for the videos that answer the question you type into Google the best, basically, yeah, in simple terms. Actually, Google does not officially talk about how they measure the quality of a search result. Yeah, we know on Google the quality of a search results is click-through rate and watch time. That decides expected watch time per impression. You know from Brian's videos, for example, that this is the main metric they evaluate videos and which decides how high you rank on YouTube. On Google, it's a little bit different. It's how well it satisfies the intent of the searcher, and unofficially, Google SEO experts, and I was talking to many previously, and they all tell me that it is about when you go on Google search and enter a search term and you see the results, then obviously those results that get clicked are the better results, obviously, right? That's the first thought we all have. But you know, when you click a result, you look at the web page or the video, and it's not really that what you wanted to search for on Google. You go back on the search results and click on a different result. And that's the crucial point where Google, unofficially, everyone says, we know that it is the case. Google says, no, we don't do it like this. But I think the community is more right on that. When you achieve with your video that people click on your video on Google, watch it, and don't go back to the Google search result page, then you have won. That is the main goal you have to achieve. And that tells Google that your video is worth showing up in the search results. So basically, it's not about watch time so much, but it's more about whether people, hopefully that people don't go back to the search results, but are happy with the video, with your video when they click on it. And yeah, basically the question is answered. That's the main point. And that is actually something that small channels can really do themselves as well. I mean, there's, you know, that's in our skill set. It's our skills that decide whether we can create a video that answers a question so that people don't have the urge to go back on the search result page to look for a different search result on Google, right? That's in our hands, so to say. And that's the interesting part about it. And I think the best example here is actually, Daniel, yours about your video that you did on your food review channel, right?
Was it the air fryer beef jerky one?
Yeah, exactly. Should we?
Let me set that up for a second. So here was an interesting thing. I have to explain that this incorporates a couple of things that we talk about. I had said earlier, talking about if I distort this mic, it's because I'm loud. I'm just loud. It's going to happen. We talk about tentpole events. I knew that I have outside of the channel where I talk too much, I have the other channel where I talk too much, and then I put hot sauce in my mouth. And on that channel, I knew there was National Beef Jerky Week was coming up.
Huh.
That was what we would call a tentpole event. It was something that happened in June, I believe. And I thought, oh boy, let me see if I can find a way to position some videos that people might be talking about beef jerky. And maybe I can make some beef jerky videos that would fit in and maybe show up and be relevant. So I started making some spicy beef jerky at home, and I used Morningfame to try to find some areas of opportunity where I could rank. And I was looking up, how to make beef jerky. And I looked up how to make beef jerky in an oven and how to make beef jerky in a food dehydrator. I looked at every possible search term I could find to see where I might have some opportunity. And I found a really interesting thing. They were all very competitive, except I happened to have bought an air fryer about a year ago, and I had an air fryer, and I was looking up beef jerky. I clicked on the Google Trends tab, and down at the very bottom in related queries, which is just other things that people search for, there was a breakout search term that said air fryer beef jerky. And I said, oh, okay, let me take that term and bring it back into Morningfame and see what my potential is on that one. And I put in tab 3, air fryer beef jerky. But I had written it the way that I saw it, which was air is one word, fryer is another, beef jerky. And when the results came up, I had a ton of opportunity. And I went, well, how the heck is this thing being like, it's a breakout search term on Google Trends, but I've got all this opportunity. How is there such a big hole? And when I scrolled down in the keyword research tool, I realized that all the results were using the product name. And the product is actually, they put the word air and fryer together. So everyone was writing air fryer as one word. And I realized that people were searching it as 2 words. And as simple as that sounds, this is where keyword research can change your game and your ability to rank in search. Separating those 2 words was the best thing I ever did, because I made an air fryer beef jerky recipe, sat in my kitchen, made a mess, stuff everywhere. It was really bad. I'm not kidding. It was horrible. It took me a week to clean. And once I was done, I put this video out that had shown me people were searching it on Google. It had opportunity on YouTube, and I put it out, and it had a little bit of traffic, and it sat for a while, and it bubbled and steeped. And then all of a sudden it started taking off, and that traffic pattern just went up, and it kept going up. And I realized really quickly that I caught something. And the next thing I knew, that video, and I think it still may be, the #1 search result for air fryer beef jerky on YouTube was my video. And it was doing pretty well for a while. But it did a weird thing. It wasn't the top video on. I had a couple of better performing videos, but out of nowhere, it spiked and it kicked my top performing video right out of first position. I was checking my analytics, and all of a sudden, this air fryer beef jerky recipe that had been doing well in YouTube search suddenly was the best video on my channel. I went, well, what's going on here? And I went and I checked the traffic. Nico, thank you for pulling that up. Nico's got the screenshot up. And I saw that it had a ton of Google search traffic. So I searched it in Google and realized, holy cow, I've got the #1 position for air fryer beef jerky on Google in a search term that has search volume. And the video carousel is right up top. It's right up there where if you searched for this, my horrible thumbnail was right there screaming to click me. And that's when I started seeing really, really impressive traffic numbers, where a video that had only been driving a handful of views a day suddenly was driving 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 views a day. And it was getting solid search volume, and it was getting good watch time. I had made a video that had connected with people where they were watching. It had an average view duration of 60 to 70%. The retention was good. People were hanging in. So it was a video that did really well across the board. And that horrible thumbnail, yeah, you can see right here, Nico's pulling up the other screen, you can see that blue graph at the top. That's the Google search traffic that was coming from the external search. It was just killing everything else. It was killing it. It had done well on Reddit, it had done well on Facebook, but the Google search traffic was on top of the world. That was what really put this video over the top. And the better it started doing from Google search traffic, the more YouTube started recognizing it as, oh, this video is doing pretty well. And it just kept becoming that same cyclical thing that I talk about, where one fed the other. And that video is still the best performing video on that channel.
Perfect. And I lost the train of thought. Sorry.
Oh, did I blow up the bridge your train of thought was crossing?
Where were we?
I totally interrupted you. Just get used to that. So we're talking about how we can leverage this Google search and how we can make that help grow traffic onto individual videos as well as our channel overall.
Yeah, and what I wanted to say is you have to keep in mind that Daniel's Extreme Food Reviews channel is actually a very small one still. You have like 500 subscribers or something like that?
I think it's, hey, listen, I don't want to say that size matters here on a stream that we don't want demonetized, but that may be up to 800 subscribers.
Perfect.
It is. That's a perfect example. It's still that I started that channel in January. It has under 1,000 subscribers, and I own the #1 search result on YouTube and on Google as a tiny little channel that nobody else could care about. I mean, I'm competing against every other cooking channel on Google. So to be able to grab those positions and rank for search terms that people are actually looking for, that's super important. And it shows you that it isn't exactly what Nico said, that it isn't just about how big your channel is or how much authority you have. You can find holes in the search for both YouTube and Google that you can stick your foot in the door and go, I'm going to claim this, and I'm going to make content that's going to rank and drive traffic.
Perfect. Yeah. We have a few questions from the audience. Let's start.
What's the first one? Why is Daniel so loud?
I think that came up. Daniel is loud. Launchpad Astronomy. Welcome, by the way. Yes, this salon guy asked, hello, buddy. I have been using the tools you have for titles, but I'm still getting lower views. And even with your ranking numbers showing a high score, help me.
Velocity.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I jumped right in. I'm going to say velocity. Listen, it's funny. And this may not be your situation, but it's usually what I find when people find a great search term. They go, oh, I think I have good grades for it. It's showing me that I have potential to rank. I actually get the green check mark. I always say double check the search volume just to see where it is, because sometimes you get a green check mark and you think, oh, I'm going to get a lot of traffic. And search volume is a relative thing. So you want to see do a little more research and see what kind of search volume there actually is. Google Trends will sometimes, when you click on Google Trends to see what the search volume is, you might get a 37 and it says, oh, it shows me search volume. I click Google Trends, but it doesn't show me anything. That's because Google Trends has what they call a search floor, meaning it only registers search after a certain volume. But Morningfame can pick up that volume below the search floor. So that's the advantage of being able to see that green check, is you can find search terms that definitely have search, but may not quite register on Google Trends. But the reason I mentioned velocity is if you find a subject matter that says you could rank for this, you have to remember that Morningfame is taking the average of your channel performance. It's looking at your subscriber rate. It's looking at the average views that you get on a video. It's looking at the amount of engagement, likes, things like that you get. And it's trying to give you an idea. Think of it as like being at a casino and gambling. And you're trying to figure out the best bet that you can put your money on. It doesn't mean you're going to win every time. You're just trying to find the safest bet for your channel and your video topic. So you throw your money down on that, but you need to have a certain amount of velocity, meaning Google relies on seeing how the audience responds to your video. So you can do everything right. And if you don't really generate any views, because I know people who have nailed their topics, but they get 12 views in the first week. And that isn't enough to generate enough search traffic for YouTube to really understand what this video is about, because it wants to see how other people respond to it, take that traffic data, and then decide what it's going to do with your video. So it's really important to try to gain velocity and try to promote your own video and push it out. This is where being engaged with your subscriber base and getting into the comments section and getting them really interested in your new releases is super important, because YouTube only needs about even 100 views on your first video can give YouTube all the information it needs to decide what to do with your video. That air fryer beef jerky video took 5.5 months after I released it before it started to kick. So the other side of that is velocity and patience. You have to be patient, because if you don't get a lot of velocity, which is a lot of people watching your video and giving YouTube all of that traffic data that it can go, oh, look, people like it. They're watching it for, X amount of time. They get the average view duration, and it can absorb all that data. If it doesn't have that immediately, it takes longer, and it has to slowly have more data collected before it can make decisions about pushing it back out. So consider your velocity, how the opportunity in each of your targets. If you're shooting for a smaller target and you have slower velocity, that means it's already a smaller target, meaning there's not as many people looking for it to begin with. And if you have a smaller velocity when your video first launches, assuming that it has great retention and your audience does love it, it's still going to take a while for YouTube to get the data it needs to decide what to do with your video.
Exactly. And I also call those the active subscribers. They are really important. Those are the people who are the first to watch your new video, and they produce those initial signals for the algorithm in order for it to be able to decide whether to rank your video or not. And that is actually, if you look more closely, incorporated into the keyword research tool. Let me show it to you real quick. Here we go. We have, for example, a search term that I favorited a while ago because I'm planning to do a video about it. And here you can see these different grades. Those 4 grades basically tell you different aspects of the competition and whether you can meet the level of competition you have for the search term. And here these grades are perfect, all Ds and A for relevance. These first 3 grades, in particular the first 2, they basically include your amount of active subscribers, the power you have of your existing community, existing audience to drive those initial signals. Yeah, the amount of subscribers, a certain portion of your subscribers are the ones who watch your video in the first place, who generate this velocity. And also the views in combination tell you how many views you drive in the first few weeks in this case. It gives also an indication how engaged your audience is usually. And if you have good grades, at least Ds here, that means that your active subscribers, your engaged audience is powerful enough to drive your video up in the rankings. Yeah, and this is really the most important point. There's 2 situations, whether you are ranking or you're not ranking. If you're ranking for the search term, then it comes down to the search volume. And you see the double check tells us it has search volume on YouTube and Google in this case, and the 19 is the search volume level. So it's pretty low in this case, but I'm a small channel. I have to go for low searched search terms anyway, because those usually that have a lot of search volume are too competitive for my channel, and I couldn't even rank, so I don't get any of the search volume. But I'm happy with that. The most, if you're not ranking, then that most likely means the competition is too high. So the crucial step here is to get those grades right, as recommended in this footnote below. That is usually the first step you have to ensure in order to make your videos rank. I hope so.
While you have that screen up, I want to just point out something to people, because sometimes I think people look at the grades and they don't look at the numbers underneath them. And sometimes those are really, really important. I've been able to score really well in search for search terms that may have shown me an E or even an F sometimes. But if you scroll down, let's take a look at the screen that you're looking at, right? Mm-hmm. And it says views, and it gives you a D, which is a good grade. But what you got to really look at is your channel and the average gateway video channel views at the bottom. You see where, scroll back up a little there. You can see that you can see that the numbers at the bottom mean everything. In this case, Nico's channel, he has an average of 897 views is just his average. That's Morningfame looks at your channel and says, well, what are you averaging for video views? Now, Nico has videos that are well into the thousands. So, this is just a channel average. Some are higher, some are lower. So you have to think about looking at the numbers below the grade, because in this particular search term, the gateway video has about 852 views. And if you think that you can beat that number, if you can put out a video that can surpass that 852, then sometimes knowing that information is as important as the grades above it in each situation as well.
Exactly. If you have the opportunity, oftentimes I see people getting good grades for subscribers, likes and comments and relevance, but not views. So if you really want to make it happen, you can make up for a bad grade for views, because your numbers are lower than those of the gateway video, which is basically the limit at which you at least have to achieve in order to rank. Yeah. If you do special promotion for the video, for example, if you can get some bigger channel, for example, to publish your video on their community tab, for example, that would be an easy way to get more views to that particular video. Then you can even make up for a bad grade for views. So there are opportunities if you look more closer onto those numbers. Indeed.
So let me ask you this question, Nico. Knowing that Morningfame now gives us a double check mark, right? So we used to have a single check mark. Now we got this double check mark that says, all right, well, I guess there's some Google search volume. What would your suggestion be to any of the Morningfame users who pop in a search term, they get some decent grades, they get a double check mark? What does that mean now? What's the next step that they can do? Do you run and just make the video on that? Is there further research that they can do from that point? I know that there's a few options that we have to, first of all, make sure that the search is enabled. For those of you who haven't tried this function yet, in the upper right-hand corner of Morningfame, when you're in the keyword research tool, there's the 3 bars, and you actually have to click on that and enable the double check mark, because the default setting is the single check mark. So if you want to see Google search, make sure you click on that drop down, and that'll allow you to see Google search as well. There it is. You see the 3 bars. You click that to the on position, and now you'll start seeing Google search as well. And you'll see if there's any search volume history. But that opens up a couple other pieces underneath when you want to explore. Nico, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, exactly. As I said before as well, you do your regular YouTube SEO. Yeah. So it's not much more that you have to do. The only thing is you have to validate that the search term is indeed one that is also searched on Google. So that is the case here for the double check. And then you go to further analysis. And here you can look up Google Trends for Google and the search results for Google. Yeah, the search results for Google is the main purpose, obviously, is whether there is a video carousel. As you can see here, for video, YouTube video backdrop ideas, we have indeed a video carousel, so that's good. Yeah, and by the way, if you are a power user, you can install keywords everywhere on Google, and you see even the search volume here. Yeah. And the other thing you can do is to look it up on Google Trends. And that is very interesting, unless, of course, the search volume is below the search floor that you, Daniel, just mentioned before. Unfortunately,
hold on that screen for 1 second. Go back to the Google Trends screen right there. I think that's really important. You have to see, sometimes you're going to get this, your search doesn't have enough data to show here. And you need to realize that doesn't mean that there isn't search volume. It's just below the search floor of what Google is going to rank. It's such a massive search engine that you could still have quite a few people searching for this a month, but it rounds off at a certain number because it says, listen, we have to start from somewhere. We can't rank, a couple of searches a month or a few. And I've made videos based on search results that showed me nothing in Google Trends, but Morningfame concurred that there actually was search volume. And the way that Morningfame does that, Nico, how does Morningfame tell us that it knows there's search volume, even though Google Trends isn't representing it?
Yeah, that's basically what you see here. Let me share the screen. It's the search bar suggestions. This is really valuable information for us to determine whether a search term is actually used by people. And when you, for example, start typing it into here, backdrop, drop ideas, here you can see it appears here in the search bar suggestions. So this is a search term that people are indeed using. The search bar suggestions that you see here are looking a little bit more fancy than on YouTube itself, but it's basically the exactly same thing. Yeah. Anyway, if you go to the search bar on the Google page, then you see the same results there as you see here. And if you start entering your search term and don't fully enter it, then YouTube predicts which search terms you probably want to enter. And the only way YouTube knows that I am planning to enter this search term is because it experienced in the past that other people were entering that exact search term. So this gives us a peek into which search terms other people are using. And that's actually also the secret behind this check here. Yeah. If you have a single check, then the search bar suggestions for YouTube were showing this search term in the suggestions. And if you have a double check, then the same is the case for Google. I have it open here, for example. If you enter air fryer beef, you see in the search bar suggestions for Google, you have suggested air fryer beef jerky, which means that people are indeed searching for that, as well as they search for air fryer beef recipes and so on, right? So that is the whole trick here. Actually, you don't need a tool for checking that out. These are the regular search bar suggestions that you have on Google and YouTube. Nothing fancy about that. But of course, since we have a tool, the goal is to save a little bit of time in this regard, and so you don't have it to enter manually. You right away get this verdict from the tool with the green check.
So now knowing, so if you're going to wrap this all up into one nice package and say, the people are used to using the keyword research tool, right? We put in what we're looking for, we get our results, we get our grades, and we're used to seeing a single check mark. Now, in certain circumstances, we're going to see a double check mark, which is going to let us know that there's some Google search volume. Would you say the next step is to click below and see if we can create a carousel? Or there's another thing that you can do too. You know what? When you bring it into step 4, there's another area where that double green check mark actually becomes important when we start optimizing our tags.
Absolutely.
What can you tell me?
Yeah, absolutely. When you are going through the regular video SEO, yeah, you ensured, like always, you are targeting a search term that's good for Google, but good for YouTube. But you also check that it is good for Google. Yeah, the search term is searched there as well. We have a video carousel. We move on to. Let me share the screen again. Move on to step 4, where we do the metadata. Yeah, choose for step 4. We go ahead, and in step 4, we enter the title, we enter the description and the tags. And now here, as you know, Morningfame pre-fills the metadata for you a little bit. So you have a starting point, a good starting point. And as you can see already, yeah, it added some tags, and some of them have a single check mark, and some of them have a double check mark. So these tags represent search terms that are in part used on Google as well. And it is, to be precise, Google is not telling us which metadata it is using actually to rank your videos on Google in the video carousel. But certainly, as YouTube, so does Google think in search terms. I mean, that's all it gets from its users, its searchers on the platform, its search terms. So what we need to do with our metadata is to include search terms that are used on Google as well. So in this case, the starting point is actually quite good already. We have quite a few tags with double check marks here. So what I would do here in this case is writing a description that also includes a few of those good double check mark search terms. So we go up, we write our descriptions, and we activate the highlight tags feature. This is a feature that we already had for our YouTube in SEO because obviously this is a good thing to do, best practice on YouTube, but it turns out to work good for Google as well. So I enter a, let me show you the best video backdrop ideas. Backdrop is not good. Backdrop ideas I found from famous YouTubers, for example. Yeah, that would be what the video is about. And what you see here in the preview below is now the pink underline. Yeah, that means you included, in this case, this tag, this search term that the tag is using, representing, into your description as well. So you have something that a human can read. That's very important for a description, but you also included this video backdrop idea search term into this. So this way, Google is able to pick it up as well and detecting, wow, this is a search term that people are using on Google as well. So this video is a good fit for the search term. And that is the way how you integrate those search terms that are used on Google as well into your metadata as well. So that's the reason why you see the double check here as well, because that's an indication for us. This is a good search term for both platforms, and we should optimize our video metadata around those search terms that are used on both platforms as well. So that's the basic trick. Basically, you are applying this. Integrating those search terms into your description is a best practice for YouTube SEO already. We know that, we learned that. The only thing we need to do is now to consider those search terms that are used on Google as well. By the way, has anyone in the chat questions about that? How to optimize it? What about other languages in Google in this Google? Does Morning works perfect with other search terms? Alex, very good question. Actually, if Morningfame does not work for Cyrillic for you that well, shoot me an email. I have like a hidden feature underlying in development that I actually extended yesterday even more, which will see the light of day for everyone hopefully soon. But I can activate it for you already. Basically, the rule is for the keyword research tool that if you have a language that has words in it, like with spaces, yeah, Japanese does not, unfortunately. Yeah, they don't have spaces in a sense that you really have the space as a character in your sentences. Then it will work. The only thing is that the tool executes searches as well as the search bar suggestions by automatically detecting your language. Cyrillic means that you use a special set of characters in your language, so it will automatically detect your language already. So even without this special feature I was just talking about, I bet it will work very well for you. But in case it doesn't, I can set your account to focus on your language primarily and not automatically detecting your language. Yeah, so every language that has spaces has words in the language. It most likely works well for you.
I see there's a couple other questions I've been trying to stay up with the chat, but I've been doing a poor job. I saw my pal Jeff Eatley had a question about, slightly off topic, about putting videos in multiple playlists. Hang on, it's hard to read without my, it's hard to read with my glasses. It's because there's no glass in them. Jeff, the suggestion I would make about putting videos in multiple playlists is if you put a video in more than one playlist, YouTube won't allow those playlists to be series playlists. So it's fine to put them in more than one playlist, but if you can create series playlists, that gives YouTube a nod as to what you think as a creator, which videos should go together. And it can increase your chances of having other videos in those playlists get suggested right behind other videos that are being watched. So consider that if you want to try to drive a little more suggested traffic from your own videos. Try to keep your playlist limited to videos that are only in one playlist so you can list them as series playlists.
Exactly. I think, isn't it? No, you're right. Yeah, that would be important indeed. It also makes it easier to clean up like the whole playlist. And if you put your playlists onto your channel page as well, evolving around the topic you're talking about, for example, that makes really a lot of sense in multiple ways.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've been able to do when we're talking about trying to really leverage search on my newer channel, that it's just my name, Daniel Batal. It was funny. I launched this channel on the back of doing the collaboration with Brian G. Johnson. And the initial videos that went up to this channel were really the behind the scenes of how we had done the collaboration, which was fantastic. Within the first 36 hours, I had 100 subscribers. Life was great. But then when that video ended, I had to figure out what to do next, because that was a great push to start some awareness of what I was doing. But it doesn't mean much in the long term. So I had to start doing the very things we're talking about. Figure out what my target audience wanted. I was trying to create a channel that was based around content creation and how to make better content and how to make more engaging content and the tools that you can use to do that. And one of the things that Brian and I sat with, and he pushed me really hard, was, hey, you're a Filmora guy. I use Filmora Video Editor. And he said, you should really try to create a playlist strategy around Filmora. And it was funny. We were so deep in doing other things that it got, I had my head wrapped in 900 things, and he pushed me. He said, stick with that Filmora strategy. And it's a follow-up to what Nico just said. I started looking around as a new channel going, I started putting in Filmora terms into Morningfame, trying to figure out, well, how am I going to rank for Morningfame? I was getting horrible grades. I couldn't rank for Filmora. It was way out of my reach. But what I could do was rank for longer tail keyword search terms that had Filmora involved in them. And I started looking up things like Filmora dissolve effects, Filmora pan and zoom effect. And what Brian and I worked together on was I created a playlist of just Filmora videos that all had that search term Filmora in it. So although I couldn't rank for Filmora as a small channel, I could rank for these longer tail search terms. And as one started to gain some traction, it starts letting the other ones gain some traction as well, because YouTube starts looking at me and saying, oh, well, this channel does okay for Filmora, and it starts taking a look at the traffic data on my other Filmora-based video titles, and I can actually start putting them together and telling YouTube, this is a series playlist. If they liked Filmora Dissolve, feed them Filmora Flicker Effect next. And I put those in a series playlist. And it started to actually gain traction. I have one now. I actually own the #1 search position on YouTube for Filmora effects. And that channel is only July 18th, I believe I started it. But it was the power of leveraging all of that playlist strategy together. And once that one video started taking off, I would go into the edit feature of that video and go, oh, this one is driving traffic? Let me put a card in there to one of my other videos about Filmora, right when let's say the average view duration was 2 minutes, right at 1 minute and 58 seconds. Let me suggest another Filmora video that I made, and let me put Filmora videos in the end screens. And now they all start working together as a playlist strategy to tell YouTube and to tell the viewers, there might be something here for people who are interested in Filmora.
Perfect. That's actually what I started to call linked content, and is basically also including what you just mentioned, not only playlists, but the ritual view handoff method that Brian coined. Yeah.
Absolutely.
At the end of the video, you add a card and you pitch the reason why people should click the card and now watch the next video. Yeah. And all that, yeah, people watching not one video, but many in a row, really, multiplicates the effect of getting new viewers to a particular video, because you don't get one view out of them, but multiple. And that's actually also a strategy that ties into Google as well, because if you make it happen that one video works on Google, ranks on Google, and you get really new viewers to your channel, oftentimes I would say, when you get traffic from Google, these are new people, not the same people that you usually have in your audience every now and then, at least. It's new people, and make the most out of those new people by sending them to one and the next video with the view handoff method, with the end cards, so that you get more out of them. And also, obviously, if they watched 3 videos in a row from your channel and they like it, then they are more likely to subscribe and come back when you publish new videos. So it's a whole, like, seeing that as a complete thing, right?
And I want to follow up on that. I might be behind in the chat because I'm delayed here. It looks like Brian's making fun of us, like that might work or that won't work. Of course, this is all Brian G. Johnson's strategy right here. But I want to also point out another thing that Brian really keyed me into. When we talk about search, you go, well, search is great, but what about suggested, and how do I get YouTube to recommend my content? I had the same thing. My channel right now, because it's so new, I've got a lot of, I know how to do search. I can get my videos to rank in search. I can drive traffic in search. And I sat with Brian the other day and I was talking to him about, like, well, how do I leverage suggested? What are your best ideas for moving on and moving to more suggested content? Because I love search, but the fastest way to grow on YouTube is if you can get YouTube to start suggesting your content. If it can suggest your content and it can show up and browse, those two together are really going to push your content over the edge. That's what will get some really impactful growth. Then Brian was the one who said to me, be your own suggested. If you can leverage a playlist strategy where you have, I'm going to use my own channel again as an example, the Filmora videos. if you start making multiple Filmora videos and they all start doing well, then on YouTube, you will get suggested, forget about the someone else's content, you'll start get suggested next to your own content, and you become your own suggested leveraging point. You can drive suggested traffic by making multiple pieces of content that all perform well around a certain topic.
Exactly.
and
Actually,
listen,
I want to
if it does really well, I want to take credit for it. It wasn't Brian, it was me. It was my idea.
Actually, that's a really good point. Suggested videos, yeah, the recommendations. So that means the home screen as well as the suggested videos on the side or below a video that you're currently watching is all about co-watchers. That's the main factor actually that makes suggestions work, is that they look at what videos do people watch and what videos do they watch next. So if there is another person who watches the same video, they recommend the other video that other people watch next to that person as well. Co-watchers, that's a term they use even themselves. Maybe it's too complicated to look it up right now, but there's a scientific paper about the recommendation engine from YouTube, and explicitly told in there, yeah, the recommendation engine is a separate thing within YouTube. It's one algorithm besides other algorithms they have. The search algorithm, for example, is a different one, a separate one, and they explicitly told in this paper that they also look at videos, how they get discovered through other means. Other means, for example, YouTube search or even Google search, I suspect, that they look at how videos get noticed on other algorithms through search, for example, and that makes they try to make promote this video then through suggested as well. Yeah, it's not a given, so to say, but it has a higher chance to do better in suggested videos as well if a video, for example, does well in YouTube search. And you can stretch it even more with this playlist strategy. Wherever people are coming from Google search or YouTube search, if you hand them their view off to another video of yours, the playlist strategy, then you not only make your video successful that they watched in the first place, that the video that they found in search on YouTube or Google, but also you create co-watchers between your videos that you have in one playlist that you hand off via cards in the end. You create those co-watchers, and that is within the suggested videos algorithm that counts, that makes it count. So all those strategy, like, give signals to the recommendation engine to make it promote your videos more through home or suggested videos.
And I want to follow up on that too, Nico, is that I think sometimes the nature of YouTube, and as creators, especially small channels, I'm a small channel guy. We all have these stories in our head that we're going to make a video and it's going to go viral and it's going to explode and we're going to be all over YouTube. And oh my gosh, everyone's going to know who we are and it's going to be fantastic and money will rain down from the heavens. But the reality is that it's more like trying to invest for your retirement. You're trying to make pieces of content and find ways to get them to connect with many different audiences within your niche. Maybe it's through Google search, maybe it's through YouTube search, maybe it's through suggested, and you're trying to get incremental gains. Everybody's looking for that one big score, and it happens for some creators, but the majority of creators, it's not going to happen that way. You're going to have to use keyword research. You're going to have to find your position, see if you can stick your foot in the door, and then put those videos out and let them do their thing. Almost like putting a little bit of money in a savings account. You go, well, I only put $100 in and it only pays 3% a year. Well, that's not a lot of money. But if you put $100 in every month, and then every year, and then every 2 years, it will start to grow in a way that you'll start seeing some real strong results, because you have all these little investments in your channel that all start producing dividends. And that will give you that overwhelming growth factor you're looking for. The thing that you may not get in one video, you can get in a group of content, a lot of smaller, strong videos that can grow over time and exponentially start doing really well.
Exactly. And we have to realize that YouTube is a huge promotion engine. So when we are able to tap into getting promoted by the algorithms, then we have won, right? But there's two parts. There are some algorithms that we can't really influence because the audience is actually who influences those algorithms, how they behave. And there are other parts which we have, they are in our hands. SEO is one that is pretty much in our hands because we can decide where is low competition, where do we have a good chance to rank. And also linking your content, playlists, end screens, end cards, view handoff methods, that's all pretty much in our hands. And if we do all together, that, like you say, Daniel, it's investments, because we have a saying in German, small livestock.
Oh gosh, not another German saying.
Okay, it's hard to translate anyway. But
we have a saying in German that not all balloons are destined for glory.
No, I don't think so. Although we have a famous song about 99 balloons, right?
Hey, that was Nana, and I love her.
That's a good one. So like you say, it pays us dividends. Yeah, all these strategies that are pretty much in our hands, we have to use all to our advantage. Playlist strategies, SEO, and all that. And that adds up in the long run. Yeah. And we can see that in our channel statistics. Like the views we get each day is growing and growing and growing because of those investments, because we made evergreen content, we linked our content. And it's so great. For example, on my channel, I see every now and then people telling me they just binge watched my videos. Yeah. That's so cool, because that is proof that people are interested in the content, watch more of it. And it's not only making me happy, yeah, to see that people really enjoy my content, but also the algorithm knows that if people are binge watching content, it has to mean something, right? And these are the kinds of signals that the algorithm really takes in as proof that there is good content, and then says like, okay, good content, I have to promote it more. So all ties in. Love that song too, Patty. Yeah, you have to know that one, right? As a musician yourself. Excellent. So let's see. Do you have some questions about ranking on Google? I saw previously, it's quite a long time ago, so I don't know who was asking that. How about ranking your videos on Google and not on YouTube? Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to rank on YouTube when you're in a very competitive niche. So you might think we could just focus on Google itself. A good question, actually. My philosophy here, and Dan, you can probably shed a different light on that afterwards, is that I think we should mainly focus on ranking on Google first. Because
YouTube, you mean?
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Very important. Focus on YouTube first, because being on the platform, optimizing for the platform itself, ties into the whole landscape of algorithms, the whole landscapes of getting promoted on YouTube much, much better than it does on Google. It also has like this virtuous circle. Yeah, if it does well on YouTube search, it does more likely well on suggested videos as well. The same is true for Google. If it does well on Google, then it does well on the whole YouTube, more well on the whole YouTube platform as well. because a session starts, the whole signals, the views that you get from those new visitors tie into telling YouTube basically, this is a good video, you should promote it more. But I think being within the platform, doing well on YouTube search at first is more likely to produce those positive signals. YouTube has more intricate information about how those people came to watch the video. So it should always, in my opinion, be the first choice to rank on YouTube first. And being able to rank on Google is like the icing on the cake. Or what would you say, Dan?
I totally agree. It's funny, you know, both of our friends, Robert Lee, who's one of the moderators in the Tube Ritual group, you know, always points out that, you know, the thing that YouTube is trying to do as a search engine, and you mentioned this earlier, and the thing Google is trying to do as a search engine are slightly different, right? Google wants to give someone their answer, so when they put a search into the search bar, Google comes up with an answer and the person clicks and they never come back. They go, oh, I found my answer. Perfect. YouTube has a slightly different methodology. It not only wants to give that person what they're looking for, but it wants to keep that person on the platform as long as possible. So that's something you need to consider when you think about positioning videos. And the main thing I would say to everybody, I'm a data geek and Nico's a data geek. We talk about this data and get way into it. And I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed by that, because we'll talk for hours to the point where people are like, shut up. But the reality here is make content that you do your keyword research for, and you find some opportunity to rank for keywords and terms that people are actually searching for. And then just go make a great video, the best video you can. And then when you make that video, go make another one afterwards. Keep making great content, and then just pay attention to your analytics. If you see that one of your videos starts gaining some traffic and it starts doing well, then think about, maybe I can go back in and maybe I can link one of my other videos that's relevant to this same topic, so that when people are coming to watch this video, maybe I can myself suggest, hey, here's a card. If you like this one, I've got this other one over here that's related to the same subject, and check it out. And you can do things, like I said, small incremental things that can snowball. That's what we're trying to do. We're all struggling up this hill, right? We're trying to get up the hill. And then once we get to the top of the hill, I don't know where we're going to go. With me, I'm trying to get to the top of the hill with my little snowball and push it over the edge so that it will start gaining momentum on its own and grow on its own. And things like finding places that you can rank on YouTube search, taking a second to see if there's some Google search volume, and maybe if there's a Google carousel to a title you might be thinking about making a video about. If that exists, that just hedges your bet. If this were a retirement fund, you'd go, how do I get 3% on my money? I want to get 3% return. Can I get 3.2% return? Because that is better. And all of these things are just incremental. All these little things that you can do as a creator that may seem silly, but if you take the time to try to increase the return on your investment, controlling the things that you can control, that's when you can actually change the path and the direction of growth on your own channel.
Well said. Well said. I like this parallel of the retirement fund and how you push the snowball over the edge. That's usually what actually happens for evergreen content in particular. That you see, like in the beginning, of course, you have a lot of views from your active subscribers, but then the views only trickle in small amounts. But over the month, it will grow. Not for all videos, obviously, but it really can happen quite easily, even for small channels, that over time, more and more traffic will come to it. And it kind of takes time to make that happen, but you have in the start to plan out for that. For example, what I now always do is in every video that I create is doing a view handoff method, view handoff at the end, like through the end screen or a card. Because I know that even though the video might not get that many views now, who knows, in the future, in 6 months or 9 months, it might do really well in YouTube search or Google search. And then I can make use more of those viewers that I get to this video by sending them to another one.
That is a huge point right there, Nico. I don't want people to miss what you just said. One of the members in the Tube Ritual group, and I wish I had his name in front of me, said it fantastically, where he was a guy, he actually runs a small farm. And he says, you know, we prepare the field. We plant what we're going to grow in that section of field. We till it, we fertilize it, we put the seeds in, we water it, we do everything we're supposed to do. But we don't sit there and watch and wait for it to grow. We move on to the next section, knowing that we've done the right thing for that particular section of the field to produce. And we move right on to the next thing. And that's how we have continuous growth on our farm. And that's exactly what you want to do on your channel. Make the content, optimize it, position it, do all the things you can, and don't freak out. Let it sit there, move on to the next section. And if you've done it right, it might be a week, it might be 5 months. But if you've done it right, you'll see these things start to grow. And in any channel, Brian G. Johnson will tell you that the majority of the content on your channel isn't going to drive the majority of the traffic and views and watch time. It's actually, for most channels, it's a smaller percentage. It can be 20% of your content, 30% of your content that drives all of the most recent traffic. If you ever go into your watch time results and your analytics, you'll have certain videos that are doing really well and then they tail off really quickly. And the idea is to keep making content so you can get new stuff to jump up to the head. That it all starts, you always have new videos that move up and start producing, so that when other ones stop producing, it's not devastating to your crop. You don't lose the farm over it. Because YouTube is the first to tell us that no matter how great your even evergreen content, every video has a shelf life. They do not last forever. They will not last forever. Especially if you're doing trends. If you're a guy who made a video on fidget spinners, you're probably sitting there going right now, how come no one watches my fidget spinner video? And it's because things have a shelf life. And even things that I talk about, I'm talking about Filmora on my channel now, or even right now, we're talking about a new functionality on the keyword research tool. But this Morningfame will grow and change, and what we're talking about now will be less relevant over time. So always think about how you can continually treat your channel much like a farm. Put new crops, get new stuff planted, new stuff fertilized, keep turning it over and create a cycle of growth.
Oh, very good parallel indeed. And it's kind of, yeah, you never know which videos really will pay off, but you place your bets, right? And yeah, if you do everything right, and in particular, it's also if you do your SEO and it does not rank right away, because we don't have a 100% guarantee for that, it might very well climb up in ranks over time. So it's all an investment, and these strategies, it's actually, you know, that will become a very exciting time now. I'm about to start to tap more into traffic sources with Morningfame. And there are really good opportunities to understand each and every source we can tap into and the strategies that we can use in order to get more views there. It's all opportunities which don't all work out, but it adds up. Do we have some more questions about this? I would say otherwise. Let's see. Did I miss something in the chat? Best apps.
I think we're exchanging recipes in the chat. Which, if you've got any good ones, please send them my way. Perfect. I'm a single dad just trying to get through dinner.
And even though, especially because we just talked about planting seeds in the garden, right? Arvind, you asked for best apps for thumbnails. I can't really tell.
The guy you need to, if you're looking for any information on apps, mobile apps for any kind of thumbnails or advancing any of your YouTube production, check out D. Nimmons' channel. He does
exactly.
nothing but mobile apps. Master your mobile. Deenimin, DEENIMMIN. Fantastic information for all things mobile.
Exactly. Yeah, good point. And for desktop, certainly you will then discover Nick Nimmin. Brian G. Johnson has a lot of material on that as well. The last live stream, actually, look at the archive here on the Morningfame channel. The last live stream, I think a month ago or 1.5 months ago, was actually about thumbnails. And we talk there with Marco Domingos, who is really a, he knows, he does super great thumbnails. It blows all our minds in the chat.
And Marco's doing all his thumbnails on a mobile app, isn't he? Am I incorrect on that?
He does, yes.
And what app does Marco use? Do you remember?
Lightroom CC. That's Adobe Lightroom CC, which is actually free, by the way.
Wow.
So that's interesting. And you can, of course, use other tools on desktop as well. Lightroom is, of course, a desktop app as well, but I think there is not a free version. I'm not sure about that. A very
desktop, I know, Pixlr.com, Pixlr.com is a free online desktop website. It's web-based, but it's ad supported, but it's fairly functional. I've done a lot of thumbnails with it. It works pretty well.
And actually, yesterday, one user just told me TubeBuddy has a great thumbnail editor as well in their free version.
Wait, what was the name of the company?
TubeBuddy.
TubeBuddy, you say?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look them up. They do. In the editing feature of your videos, you can click when you're uploading your videos right below choosing the stock thumbnails. You'll see if you have I work for TubeBuddy. If you have the TubeBuddy browser plugged in and enabled on your browser, you can actually use that TubeBuddy feature that will allow you to pull a still right from the video and create a thumbnail right there in full high def.
Yeah, perfect. And good point. Canva is obviously also a good choice. Yeah. All right. I would say let's wrap it up for today. If you have more questions about Google, it sounds like it's ending right now. I have something for you. Don't go away right now. Don't go away right now.
Planned? Is this that schnitzel recipe you told us about earlier?
Not exactly, but
going to share it.
Let's have a look. Is Nick Nimmin still streaming?
Oh yeah. Anyone left is Nick Nimmin still live? His live streams go so long. This one went pretty long, but his
he is still live. Right. Everyone who is still on the stream, let's do a raid. Do you know what a raid is?
I think that's a spray that kills insects. No different raid.
It's probably also. It's nothing bad. Let's go over to Nick Nimmin, who does really good advice. Arvind, for you, it's particularly interesting. Maybe you get a review from him about your thumbnails and what you can improve. He does channel reviews there all the time.
We got to give a hashtag. So if we send people over, what's the hashtag they should drop in the Nimmin stream?
Let's all go over to his live stream. I paste you the link in the chat. And let's leave everyone a hashtag Morningfame raid. Hashtag Morningfame raid.
Hashtag Morningfame raid. I'm in.
Fame raid. Let's raid him. And so he has a few more viewers on his stream. Awesome. It was really great to talk to you. Let's continue the chat on Nick Nimmin's live stream. So we have a little bit more fun on this beautiful Saturday today. See you in the next stream here or next uploaded video next week on this channel. But let's now raid Nick's stream so he doesn't know what happens to him. All right?
Nico, thank you very much for having me. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan, for staying here, and see you in Nick's stream right now.
Peace.